The soul, or is an important concept in classical philosophy. The soul, or is the central concept of psychological studies in classical philosophy. Terms like senses and reason point to the function of the soul. It is intriguing to see where these concepts fit within the corpus of classical philosophy, because the study of the soul is examined in the context of natural philosophy. Aristotle begins by making critical points. There are two reasons why we might prefer one piece of knowledge over another. One is either because it is true or because it examines the subjects of a higher value. For this reason, we can place the study of the at the forefront of natural science. The of life makes significant contributions to natural science. An investigation into the soul proceeds first to its nature essence and then to its qualities. In this sense, the study of the soul is not only examined under the heading of physics, but also has the quality of being the most important subject of physics. We can follow this point in the order foreseen by Aristotle. The Greek word, which translates to breath of life, soul, principle of life, is one of the leading terms in the history of philosophy, which has been the subject of in-depth discussions. This concept has carried discussions within itself since the pre-Socratic period. The soul, conceived in two ways as the principle of movement and sense in its basic sense, found its first well-organized text with the ideas put forward by Plato Influenced by the Pythagorean view of the soul, for Plato, the is a unity and is immortal. In this sense, the form of connection between body and soul is shaped accordingly. The soul has a higher order than the body, and as long as it is in contact with the body, it is in contact with something of a lower order than itself. However, according to Peters, the soul undergoes a cyclical rebirth within the body. There is a dialogue in which Socrates conveys some of his beliefs about why a philosopher should not fear death before his execution. In these passages, which reveal the first stages of Plato's conception of the soul, the purpose of life and the definition of philosophy is preparation for death, that is, the return of the soul to its natural home. A philosopher will be able to attain knowledge, truth at the level of only after death and after being freed from the body. According to Plato, when a person dies, the soul goes to its proper place, despite the corruption of the body. It takes nothing from the body with it, and man does not willingly enter into a relationship with the body. The direction of the soul is towards the unseen, the divine, the immortal, and knowledge. In this case, the soul can only go towards this knowledge when it is separated from the body. In this direction, according to Plato, the soul is similar to the divine, the immortal, the thinking, the simple. The body, on the other hand, is like the human, the unthinking, the compound. Therefore, the philosopher's attainment of truth means the same thing as his separation from the body. Since a philosopher will work for truth, the purpose of philosophy is also suitable to be realized with the separation of the soul from the body. Because philosophy has shown him that what the eyes, ears, or other sense organs perceive are not real things. In the next stage, in Plato, the soul has virtues specific to each part, the parts of reason, heart, and desire. The connection between reason and soul is established as follows in Plato. It is certain that the soul is the only entity among all other entities that can possess reason, and the soul is not something that can be seen with the eye. However, fire, air, water, and earth are objects that can be seen with the eye. If an entity loves knowledge, it inevitably examines the reasons that have reason in their essence, and then the other reasons that act for different reasons. According to Plato, the soul is the only entity that can possess reason and does not have a material structure. This reason has a high place among the functions of the soul. This structure, which has a structure inclined to recognize divine and innate forms, is immortal. This structure will take on the concept of, which will correspond to the soul in later dialogues of Plato, and the functions of these two concepts can be conceived in the same way. Aristotle, on the other hand, dragged the soul discussions in another direction by not adopting Plato's basic beliefs. As Copleston reports, Aristotle does not defend Platonic dualism, for he makes the soul the perfection of the body, and the two constitute only one substance. According to Copleston, the approach of seeing the body as the tomb of the soul is not Aristotle's tendency. According to Aristotle, it is for the good of the soul to be united with the body, for only in this way can the soul exercise its faculties. Aristotle states at the outset that he will first inquire into what the soul is, and then what its most general definition is. For this, he first states that being is defined in three ways. That these are, firstly, matter, as something that is not determined by itself. In the second sense, it is called general appearance form, and in the third sense, it is the combination of matter and form. Accordingly, matter is power, form is perfection. That is, from this, we can give Aristotle's definition of the soul as it is. The soul is perfection in the sense that it is like knowledge. This is clear, because sleep as well as wakefulness requires the presence of the soul. Wakefulness corresponds to using knowledge, sleep to possessing knowledge but not using it. Knowledge comes first in a person in terms of becoming. Therefore, the soul is the first perfection of a natural body that has the power to live. Now, such a body is an organic body. Even the parts of plants, though quite simple, are organs. For example, the leaf is the skin covers the fruit. The roots correspond to the mouth because they take in food. If we are to say one thing that is common to all souls, it is that it is the first perfection of an organic natural body. Aristotle, firsthand, holistically defines the soul as the first perfection of a natural and organized natural body, that is, a body that is potentially alive. The soul, which is one of the beings of the kind of perfection, is what a kind of body is. In this direction, the soul is the essence in the sense of determining the essence of something, which is conveyed by the examples of axeness and sharpness. If the axe were a natural body, being an axe would be its existence, that is, its soul. If we removed its being an axe, that is, its soul, it would not be an axe, or it would not be able to function as an axe. The soul, on the other hand, is the form and what it is of natural bodies that carry the principle of movement in themselves, not of such bodies. Another critical example is given between the eye and life. If the eye were a living thing, sight would be the soul of the eye. But the eye is the matter of sight, and when there is no sight, there is only a homonymy. The soul's being a perfection is like the perfection of sight and the power of the instrument. The body is only what is in potency. On the other hand, the body and soul, like the pupil and the necessity of sight, are a necessity. Aristotle, in the second stage, proceeds to the verification of this belief. The source of what is clearer and more knowable to us in terms of logic is distinct data, even if they cannot be separated from each other. We need to attempt such an approach for the study of the soul. While Aristotle tries to explain the definition he gives in two, the discourse expressing the definition is expected to both explain what is actually happening and to contain and clarify the reason. For Aristotle, life separates the living from the non-living. This is the starting point of his research. Therefore, the framework of those who have life becomes quite wide, because plants also have a life, and because of this principle, they can grow and shrink in opposite directions in terms of place. Starting from the example of plants, Aristotle shows that the faculty of nutrition is the utmost necessity for life, because without the faculty of nutrition, there can be no other faculties. But even if there are no other faculties, the faculty of nutrition can exist. Secondly, Aristotle moves on to the examination of the state of life of animals through the faculty of sensation. The basic sensation that applies to all animals is touch. From this, Aristotle argues that intelligence and the theoretical faculty are of a completely different kind of soul, separable from the body on their own, similar to the separation of the eternal from the perishable. In this direction, Aristotle states that, contrary to what Plato relates in, the parts of the soul other than intelligence are not separate. The faculty of sensation and the faculty of persuasion are different from each other, for sensation is different from expressing thought. What distinguishes animals from each other is how much of each of these faculties they possess. The one who possesses all of them is one thing, and some possess only one of them. Aristotle states that both what enables us to live and perceive and what enables us to know have two meanings. The second is called science or soul. However, according to Aristotle, the soul is what enables us to live, to perceive and to think. From this it follows that it is not matter or support carrier, but concept and form. In this direction, Aristotle goes on to determine a connection between soul and body, and determines the soul as the perfection of a body of a certain kind, stating that there can be no body without a soul or a soul without a body. Aristotle states that, as a result of reasoning, there is agreement with reality. The perfection of every object is naturally present in what is in potency, in the appropriate matter. It is clear that the soul is a certain perfection, the form of that which has a certain kind of power,